audience, and
Yeah, right.
actually many cities across India, people from those cities have joined, and and also surprisingly not only the metro cities,
Yeah,
so many small scale town they have also
right,
joined to today. So
right,
it
right.
has been very helpful, this
Yeah,
all
yeah,
online thing and all.
yeah. Yeah, it is. It's got its silver linings, this COVID.
Yeah.
So, how are you, Chitra?
I am good. Just this week, I'm dealing with some rashes all over. I have no idea what it is, but it allows me to keep doing my stuff. Yeah, otherwise, I am enjoying retirement.
Ah, good, good.
Yep. I'm retired from working at Bell Labs for
Right,
about 37 years in
right.
wireless. So it's been a huge honor. And we never would have thought when graduating from Gindi where we would land, where
Yeah,
we would land
right.
and what we would do. But life kind of takes its own course.
Yep, it does.
Okay, so I guess we can start. As Dr. Shantha said, we will start dot on time. So it's 7 p.m. So good afternoon, everyone. And I guess in USA it will be good morning. And so I welcome all of you to our webinar on Indian women engineers, a historical perspective and what the future holds by Dr. Shantha Mohan from CMU. And this event is a joint venture by the Women in Engineering Affinity Group, IIT Kharagpur chapter of IEEE, and also the Computer Science SBC of IEEE IIT Kharagpur section. So I would also like to thank all the ExCom members of this WIE as well as CSSBC. So just some housekeeping announcements before we start. So all of you can see that there is a small Google form floated in the chat box. So please mark your attendance there. It will help us to contact you and update you of our further events, and also to send link for the recording. So I just like to say that the this event is being recorded. Uh, and so over to you, Dr. Shantha. So I don't want to take much time. So,
Thank you so much, Manjira, and thank you to Aishwarya and to the IEEE Women Engineering Affinity Group, as well as the ComScience team. And I hope everybody can see my screen.
yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm very happy to be here talking to you about Indian women engineers, historical perspective, and what the future holds. And I will start off by saying something about myself. I was born in India, and I went to College of Engineering Gindi in Chennai, and I graduated in 1971. I could be many of your grandmother, our mother for that matter. And I am very honored that Chitra decided to join us. She is my junior. She graduated in 1977. And So CEG is the oldest engineering school in India. And we recently celebrated the 225th year of its existence. And as you can see, I graduated in 1971. So my 50th year reunion is coming up, and I'm quite excited about it, even though we probably won't have it in a physical manner, but hopefully maybe virtually. After graduating, I started working, and then after a few years, I got married, had a child, and followed my husband to the US. I had actually stopped working when I had my child. And when my daughter was about 3.5 years old, I decided, yes, she can go to preschool and I'll go continue my education. And so I went to Carnegie Mellon, Tepper School of Business. In those days, it was called School of Industrial Administration, Graduate School, GSIA. And I got my Ph.D. in operations management in 1985. After graduation, moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, where I joined a company called Consilium to develop algorithms. Consilium was in the business of manufacturing execution software. And what that is to track and optimize processes in the semiconductor wafer processing. As many of you probably know, wafer processing is a very complicated business. It takes hundreds and hundreds of steps for a wafer to be converted into the integrated circuits that we use in many things today. And I became the head of software engineering for Consilium, and I had global teams in the US and in Chennai, India. After Applied Materials acquired Consilium, I stayed on for a couple of years and then left to have a consulting business. I started to advise companies on the best practices in software development. After a couple of years of that, I co-founded a company called Retail Solutions in the retail space, which I didn't know anything about. However, it seemed like at that time, there was a big hype about RFID, and we thought we could use the data from RFID to manage retail operations better. So that's what we did, and we became a leader in our niche. We were serving consumer packaged goods with the data that came from retailers and helped them make better decisions. And just 2 weeks ago, RSI was acquired by IRI, which is another big retail analytics company. I left RSI at the end of 2016. I retired, was time to hang up what I was doing. And then now, this is what I do. I do many, many more things than I ever did when I was working and focused so much on my startup. So I co-teach a course in Carnegie Mellon University's Integrated Innovation Institute on innovation and entrepreneurship. I also mentor and guide students in their practicums. I wrote this book called Roots and Wings between the time that I retired and 2018 and published it. And Roots and Wings chronicles the stories of 29 engineering women who all graduated from my alma mater, College of Engineering, Guindy. And we'll say a few things more about it later. I'm also a distinguished Toastmaster. So the past 3 years or so, I've been very busy delivering speeches, and it took 40 plus speeches and several leadership projects for me to earn this distinction. I sit on the board of SIGANA, which is the Alumni Association of CEG in North America. I also am a volunteer at SWE. I think all of you probably know what SWE is, Society of Women Engineers. And I volunteer there, and I have mentees from that organization as well. And finally, and not last, but I am a grandmother. I have 3 grandchildren, and I love to spend time with them. And doing part-time work and being involved in many of these other things gives me the ability to do that. So that's me. And let's start now with the history of women. What you see here are women who graduated in the 1940s from my alma mater, College of Engineering, Guindy. And the stories of these women are what I told in the book, Roots and Wings. The 3 women you see here, Lalita, Leelamma, and P.K. Tresia, were the first set of women to graduate in 1943. Lalita graduated in electrical engineering, and the other 2 did so in civil engineering. Lalita was a widow, and she was widowed when she had her child, and the child was 4 months old. And her father thought about how she could stand on her own feet, being widowed with nobody to support her. And he suggested that she goes for a professional degree. And Lalita chose to do engineering because she felt medicine would be difficult for her to do with a child. P.K. Tresia and Leelamma joined shortly after Lalita joined, but they all graduated together. Remember, in the 1940s, it was the wartime, and the number of years they spent in CEG was shortened to only 3 years, and they all graduated and went on to do what they did best in their careers. Leelamma and P.K. Tresia worked for Kerala PWD, and P.K. Tresia actually became the first chief engineer. And in fact, it was all of Asia, I believe. And you see others here. May George graduated close to the second half of 1940s. Raja Lakshmi was the first woman to graduate with a telecommunications degree, mainly because CEG was a first in terms of introducing that degree as well. And then Mary Matthews graduated with a civil engineering degree, and she was a great technical educator. Let me tell you a little bit about these women. I just picked a couple of them. And of course, Lalita has to be talked about. She was the first woman engineer. And she worked for a company called Associated Electrical Industries. And she was a design engineer, designing transmission lines. And she is so important for us because she put India on the map as far as Indian women engineers are concerned. What you see here is a picture from a 1964 International Conference of Women Engineers and Scientists that was conducted by SWE. And this other woman you see here, she's from Canada. But what Lalita did was to actually bring all the knowledge back, and she continued to work to make women engineers aware of what's going on in the world during a time when we had not much resources other than the newspapers that we read. I showed you May George. May George graduated with a civil engineering degree, and she was an amazing woman. She was a great innovator, and she built these houses that you see here in Chennai. These houses are circular houses with all the housing services in the middle and very self-contained. And she was constantly thinking about housing for the poor, and she focused on low-cost housing, and she used a lot of techniques for low-cost housing. She not only was a great innovator in civil engineering, she was also a great technical educator. She was the one who started Women's Polytechnic in Chennai in 1963, and she became its principal, and she started it from the ground up. Innovation, technical education, but why stop there, right? So she is a activist, social activist. During the time when HIV was a big deal, she housed women who were HIV positive. These were prostitutes from Maharashtra who were taken in Chennai, and she housed them. And not only that she housed them, she created training programs in electronics for them so that they could earn a living while living in those housings. So that's major. So you see the kind of things that these pioneering engineering women did at that time, when engineering was not something that women ever thought about. Fast forward to 1971, and that's when my batch graduated. And the woman you see here, Radha Ramaswamy Basu, is a trailblazer. After graduating from Guindy, she went to the US, got her master's from University of Southern California, and joined HP. And she steadily raced through the ranks at HP and became the woman who actually started the HP India operations. In fact, it was on her kitchen table that the first meeting of HP took place, the plans happened. And after serving in HP for a number of years, she left to head this company called Support Automation Software Company, and she took the company public. After Support Soft, she then went on to work at the University of Santa Clara, and she established the Frugal Lab there. And after being there for a few years, in 2012, she started iMerit Technology. And iMerit Technology is in the business of data and AI. And this is a very innovative company because Radha's team is all in India near Calcutta, and they all come from a very marginalized rural background. And she has given them all hope, and she has made them part of her team, and they are very successful today. And so she is a true global entrepreneur, and she actually has done a lot of other good things as well, working with her husband, who is, by the way, IIT Kharagpur distinguished alumnus. And they have a couple of nonprofits that do a lot of good things. Now, what I want to do is move forward to the 80s. And you see here a list of women who made their mark in the USA. And Vinita Gupta is a distinguished alumnus of the University of Roorkee. And she graduated in 1973 and migrated to the US. And she founded a company called Digital Link Corporation, and she took it public. Now she sits on the boards of several organizations, such as Palo Alto Medical Foundation, Indian School of Business, and the Cancer Prevention Institute of California. Jayanti Murthy is a distinguished alum from IIT Kanpur, and she graduated in 1979 with a degree in mechanical engineering. And she is currently the UCLA School of Engineering Dean. And she had a number of universities under her belt. She taught at Arizona State University, my alma mater, Carnegie Mellon University, Purdue, and University of Texas at Austin. Anjali Joshi is from IIT Kanpur. She graduated in 1981, another distinguished alumnus. And she had leading roles in AT&T Bell Labs, Covad Communication, and Google. And she currently sits on many boards as well. Padma Shri Warrior is from IIT Delhi, and she has a chemical engineering degree, and she graduated in 1982 and has a master's from Cornell and has worked in great companies like Motorola and Cisco. And she sits on the boards of Box, Gap, Spotify, and she also co-founded, she founded a company called Fable. Sarita is from IIT Mumbai, graduated in 87, and she has received many awards. The Anita Borg Institute's Women of Vision Award in Innovation is one of those awards. And Kalpana, I don't think she needs any introduction, right? All of us know Kalpana. She graduated in 82 with a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering from Punjab University, and went on to do her master's and PhD and became an astronaut. And 1997, Space Shuttle Columbia was her first mission. And unfortunately, as all of us know, her second flight in 2003 took her life. Let's look at some women who are engineering leaders in India. And you see Vanita Muthaya, and she graduated from CEG, my alma mater, and she headed India's second lunar mission. In 2006, she received the Best Woman Scientist Award from the journal Nature. Next to her is TV Geeta, another CEG alum. And I'm really very proud of her because she became the dean of the school that graduated her. In the 220 years of history of CEG, there has not been a woman at the head, but TV Geeta was a dean for the last 3 years. Tessie Thomas is a Director General of Aeronautical Systems, and she was the first woman scientist to head a missile project in India. And she has a BTech from Calicut University, has master's, PhD, as well as MBA. Anuradha is a space scientist. She's retired, and she specialized in communication satellites. And she has the distinction of being the first senior most female scientist at the Indian Space Research Organization. She has a bachelor's degree in engineering in 1982 from the Vishwesvaraya College of Engineering. And the last woman you see here is Subha Warrior. She's an Indian space engineer, and she actually received an award called Nari Shakti Puraskar for her accomplishments, launching 104 satellites in one launch. And she graduated from the Thiruvananthapuram College of Engineering and Technology with a degree in electronics and communication engineering. So you see here the women that I held up as examples, and there are many more such women, but you can count them on your fingers. But starting in 1980, we had many more women enter engineering, and there are some reasons for that. Engineering used to be a very hard discipline with civil mechanical engineering, but with the advent of computers, a whole new industry was born, information technology and computer science, which were, I would call, a little bit soft compared to the hard engineering, and women could participate a lot more in them. And you saw, growth in women's enrollment in engineering colleges. Let me shift gears and talk about where we are. What is the state of Indian women engineers today? We have to go back to 2004 for one of the first studies done by Parikh and Sukatme. And they did 2 comprehensive studies, and they looked at the engineering college enrollments, they looked at the job opportunities for women, and they looked at what was going on in the industry. And they also had responses from women and employers about the perception that is out there about women engineers and what are the barriers. I chose not to show you a lot of the graphs that are in the studies, but give you some highlights from the results. And you can see that they talked about IITs taking special measures to attract more girls, because we all know that the enrollment of girls in IIT is not as high as it could be. And they talked about instituting prizes and awards. They will encourage women to come into the profession of engineering. And they also talked about giving women the ability to continue in their career by providing childcare facilities and encouraging them to work. And another reason that they gave is that the parental constraints are a problem for women, because while the parents educate them in engineering, then they expect them to get married, and this may not always be very popular among the girls who go into engineering, and they're already very well set in their vision of what they want to do, and this was not helping them much in what they wanted to do in life. The next study was done by Dr. Sudha Goyal from IIT Kharagpur in 2007. It talked about unemployment rates, and she found that unemployment rates are 5 times higher than that of men. And she talked about the lack of inspiring role models, that young women don't even know that engineering is a career that they could pursue. So they didn't see or hear women engineers as much as they should be. And then she talked about the major hurdles, which were not different from what you saw in the previous studies. Coming to this year, there was an article in Business Insider India, and it talked about the fact that as many as 40% of Indian STEM graduates are women. And mind you, the STEM, it doesn't limit you to be an engineer. You can be a scientist, you can be a mathematician. But the point here is that we are entering colleges to graduate with STEM degrees, as many as 40% of us. But only 14% are working as scientists or engineers or technologists in R&D institutions. And that's a very, very small number compared to how many enter. It's also well known, the article said, that they are paid less for their research work. And this is, solely focused on research, not all of the industry, but you can see that that is a big deal. And this can be a deterrent to women entering the field, because if I'm not going to be paid well, why would I want to be in this, right? What is promising, though, is that there is a lot of attention paid to helping women in tech return to work. We all know when women have these critical events in their lives, such as getting married or having a baby, all of them are events that interrupt a woman's career. It's not unheard of that women quit work within 5 to 8 years because they graduate, they work for a while, and they then decide to go have a family. My case is not much different. I had a baby and I stopped working for a few years. But when you ask the woman who is not working, what does she say? She wants to come back. She wants to restart the career. And so they found 96% of India's women tech workers want to restart their careers. This is coming from an article by Duncan Hewitt from VMware, a company I greatly admire for what they have done for women to be able to return to work. They have the program that helps women to re-enter their careers. So what can we do about this state of affairs that is not so good, where you have so many women getting engineering degrees, but they leave the career and you never see them again? So time for action. I think women need to empower themselves. If you don't empower yourself, others cannot help you. That is my premise. So what do you need to do? I say take risks. You might ask, what do you mean take risks? I'm talking about a risk-taking mindset. For example, don't hesitate to speak up. I think many of us think, oh, can I say this? Would this be taken in a wrong way? No, speak your mind. You've got to speak your mind. And if you have ideas, you have innovation in your mind, you should get it out. You should talk about it without feeling that you will be judged or you will think you'll be considered as somebody who is putting forth stupid ideas. Take the risk and do it. And speak up about your accomplishments. Speak up about your successes. You don't have to boast, but you can still get it out there saying, hey, I have done all of these things. And that's good for you to do. It's good for others to take notice. And go do something you have never done before. Join a group, do some social good, be adventurous. And that's what I mean by taking risks. Next, gain economic knowledge. If you look at the smartest women out there, you will find that most of the time they leave the money matters to their husbands. In a family, the husband manages the strategic money management. Sure, household, daily expenses, monthly expenses, yes, women do that all the time. But when it comes to investment, when it comes to looking at how money should be spent for, good causes and so forth, it's the man who takes the most of the, lead in that. It's important for women to do this, mainly because when you get to an old age, like me, for example, we need to be aware of how our lives will be when we grow old and when our health requires a lot of attention. How do we spend the money to get the maximum? So gain economic knowledge and raise awareness. Raise awareness for yourself, raise awareness for others in terms of what's going on in the world. It used to be in my time, all we could see were the newspapers. Now that's not the case. You have everything at your fingertips from the internet. So learn as much as you can about what's going on in the world and how it might affect you, and see how you could participate in causes that are asking for gender balance. Support other women. It seems very intuitive. It seems like Of course you support other women, but this is not the case. In fact, women are the worst critics of other women. There are women who are working, and then there are women who are working at home. And one group looks at the other and says, that's not good. But I say each of us is unique. What works for one of us may not work for the other. So don't look at other women and put them down, but rather look at them with empathy and look at the unique way in they are handling their work or home situations. And if we pull together and we love each other, we can do a lot more than if we, criticize each other. Finally, education. I believe you have to have lifelong learning. In other professions, such as legal professions, there is a requirement. If you want to keep your bar standing, you have to constantly be taking exams and studying. And we don't have something similar in engineering, but we don't have to wait for others to tell us what to do. We can actually go there and be learning all the time and keeping our skills updated as we grow old. And the last thing I wanted to say, because today AI is pervasive, it's everywhere. And with the good that it brings, it is also bringing some bad. And the bad comes from data bias. It comes from algorithms that are looking at this biased data and making decisions that are not conducive to having gender equality, or for that matter, any kind of equality among everybody. I think women have a great role to play here. AI being the most sought after field, I think women need to get in there and should work for ethical AI, should work for responsible AI, and make it a much better place than what we have had in our human existence as long as we have lived in terms of gender equality. And what can men do? Men can do tremendous things. Men have great roles in our lives, right? We have our grandfathers, our fathers, brothers, spouses, mentors because in many workplaces, there is no woman leader to be a mentor. So you often have men who act as your mentors and your supervisor and your colleagues. I won't go into a lot of detail about every one of them, but I would say spouses play a very critical role in a woman's career. I'll give you a very good example, and this is a good example of how supportive husband made a woman so successful. In my book, there is a story about Sulochana, chief civil engineer designs, and she had to go many times to the field to inspect projects. And guess who took care of the family when she was away? Her husband. And of course, she had some extended family's help as well. But when I was talking to her son for the book, he told me, you have a saying, behind every great man, there is a woman. In my family, it's the reverse. Behind the great woman, that's my mother, there is a man, my father. And I thought that was so profound. A husband or a spouse for a woman is a great, great support to make sure that the dreams can go on and be alive for a woman in her career or in her life. What can corporations or companies do? I would say the first thing is really the equal pay. Companies should conduct surveys, find out what the situation is and use that data to then make sure that women are paid equally and that they have job satisfaction. When I talk about job satisfaction, it comes from having a good job, good pay, but also good benefits. And these benefits often are not the same benefits that men might enjoy. And what kind of benefits are we talking about? We're talking about paid parental leave. We're talking about daycare, if possible, even on the premise, and ability to work from home with flexible hours. Today, with COVID, we all have the luxury of working from home, but it wasn't that case before COVID. And I think that women can do a lot better when they work from home. However, we have to remember that we are hearing a lot of stories about how women are suffering from working from home because they have to take care of their children who are studying from home. They have to take care of the house. And if the spouse, as I mentioned before, is very supportive, they will take part in all the activities and can carry the burden equally. And that is a big plus for those whose work is many hours away in terms of commuting. Nothing like just going and switching on a computer and start working, right? And there are also programs that one can have in sharing. Many women may not want to work full time. They may want to work only part time, and they can share their work among two women who want to do something like that. And finally, many of us have aging parents, and we have to take care of them. And if there is a support for doing something like that from the company, that would go a long way towards making women feel they can work and not worry about other things. I talked about this work reentry programs. I think this is probably one of the most important things companies can do. And you see here a number of companies listed. Microsoft is one of them, and they are very focused on this cyber shiksha program, where they have a focused effort to get women doing cyber security jobs. And I think that's fantastic. And I talked about the VMware. They have this VM Inclusion Tara program. Similarly, Capgemini, SAP, Amazon, and PayPal, they all have re-entry programs. And I hope they all are successful, first of all, and they show the way for all other corporations to conduct such programs. And this will help tremendously, because when you leave the job and then you want to come back after 8 years, all your skills are obsolete. You have to then look to see what is current, what is acceptable in the workplace, and it doesn't come without training. You have to train, and these programs can help do that. And finally, we have to promote role models and celebrate achievements. And you see here a list of things that are going on with Grace Hopper, with the SWE, and the Women's Engineering Affinity Group from IEEE. And it's very, very satisfying to see how it has grown, for example, in IEEE. Similarly, ACM's Women in Computing. And I want to throw in my Facebook page on Roots and Wings. And I highlight women in that Facebook page, do my part in promoting role models. And putting role models and celebrating women, tell the world we are out here, we are doing things, we are doing great things. And that is so important to women engineers to continue to be successful in the profession and continue to be in the workforce. And that is my last slide. and I am ready to take on questions.
Hi, Dr. Shantha. So,
Yeah.
thank you for the wonderful talk. So, we have couple of questions, and if anyone else have questions, please type it in the chat box. So, this is from Shustravya. She is part of WISR, Women in STEM Research India group. So she says, thanks for the great perspectives. We are currently trying to help get more women get into STEM postgraduate studies and research. But we are still clueless about how to reach out to women who are looking to get back into research careers after a gap. Could you maybe share some ideas?
So the question, if I understand correctly, is how do we get women to join STEM education programs? Is that the question?
Yes, so she has specifically asked for the those women who are coming back after a gap, after taking a break, and in
Yeah.
the same research. Yes, yes,
So how
yes,
do we get them started? Is
yes,
that the question?
yes, yes. How can we reach out to them and get them started?
Okay. Usually, you don't have visibility to them except when they participate in things like the Grace Hopper events or other events. And one of the things you can do is to reach out to those organizations and say, hey, we want to do something to help, and how do we do that? And they can help you publicize what you want to do, because otherwise you don't have an idea how you might reach out to them. But social media is a wonderful place. All you can do is to set up your Facebook account or a LinkedIn group or whatever, and put yourself out there and say, we have this program, and you will find that women will come to it.
Okay, so the same person, she has asked a second question. So I will take that first, and then I will come to Srijata's question. So
Yeah.
Shushrava has again asked, many Indian women researchers are very early in their career and get small stipends from their university, MS or PhD programs,
Yeah.
which cannot provide for childcare, which we have realized is a major need. What do
Mhm.
you think can help make this situation better? So this is a very valid question, I guess, but especially in context of the women researchers, because most of the time we also need to take care of our children and household. And so
Right.
what is your perspective on this?
Yeah. So here, I think the universities have to step up. If the research is happening in universities, the universities have to look at the women who want to do their research and also have to take care of their kids. And many research institutions are in schools that are, in colleges that are run by government, but some are not. Some are in IIT. So I think that in this case, policy decision by the college or by the government can help by saying that if it is a woman who is doing research and has a child, that they be given subsidies to make that possible. This can't happen anywhere else. It has to be a policy decision at the level of management.
Yes, so very rightly said, Dr. Shantha. So it is. I also feel that we need to take this up at the policy level
Yeah,
and make a very organized movement,
right.
if I say for it, because as Shushrava has correctly pointed out, and I have also observed, lots of our women scholars, even in IITs, they face extreme challenges. Even if not for money, but actually the mere logistics of it, because our
Yeah,
universities in that way are very ill equipped to handle the child care, not only from the financial perspectives, but when a new mother is joining as a scholar together, so they often need to choose between whether to take care of the child and go for a career. So I
Sure.
feel that the women, they should not need to make such choices, and
I
the
agree. I
environment
agree.
should be more interesting. So, in actually in line of that, Sricheta has asked a very interesting question that
Okay.
people often misinterpret women empowerment as feminism. What is your thought about this? Are these terms related, or feminism can be described as a tool of women empowerment? Another thing is, whenever we raised our voice, in bracket, men and women both often tell us that stop complaining about everything. As a woman, you should adjust. It's very valid point. Don't you think adjustment should not be gender biased? How to make them understand that thing? So before I hand it over to you, I have a small like comment that I am a very proud feminist, and I absolutely believe that, like, the people who misinterpret feminism, the fault is theirs, and we should absolutely stand by it. Yes. So Dr.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me first of all say that feminism does not mean putting down men. It's got this bad connotation. I don't know why, but feminism means giving equal opportunity to women and to support women's standing equally, shoulder to shoulder. And I never once thought about myself as a woman when I was doing my job and working, but it struck me later that a lot of the time women are at a disadvantage, and I became a feminist. Even though it was within myself as long as I have lived, because I never once thought because I was a woman I couldn't do something. So I want to say I'm a proud feminist, and so did this recent Nobel Prize winner in chemistry. And she talked about how she is a feminist as well. And men can be feminists as well. As long as they think that women are equal to men, they're all feminists. And there is nothing wrong with being a feminist. Feminist shouldn't be taken as, something that is not to be cherished. Actually, you should cherish feminism, because feminism does not mean you are looking at men as lower than you. Not at all. It's the opposite. You're saying, I am your equal. I am, with you. I want to shoulder all the responsibilities equally. And the second thing we talked about was, when you talk loudly, or when you bring out things that people say, stop complaining. I think that there is a way to bring up issues without sounding like you're complaining. And that comes from saying, look, here is what's going on, and here's what you can do, which will bring benefit to everybody. Recently, they have talked about how women working in the workforce actually is an economic benefit. And you have to be able to bring out your thoughts without sounding as if you are complaining. And I think we are all in this together. And when we talk about problems, we should also talk about possible solutions. And this is where I was talking about when I said take risks. It means when you bring up a problem, also bring up a solution. How about we do this, right? And that doesn't make it sound like a complaint at all. That sounds like you want to make improvements, and you will get by quite finely, men and women, on this. And what was the other question? Did I answer those questions?
Yeah, so she has actually said that lots of time the women are only advised to adjust, which is very evidence in our society, given that like the patriarchal structure. That she said that they how to make people realize that adjustment should not be gender biased.
Right. And that, I am afraid, is going to take quite a while. And this is what I was talking about when I talked about the roles men play in a woman's life. All the way back from when you are born, your grandfather treats the grandson differently from the granddaughter. And that, I think, is the fundamental thing. Look at a child with the eyes that say every child is equal to the other, irrespective of gender. That's where it starts. It's the social norms that we grow up with, which say a man's desires, a man's place in the world is much higher than that of a woman's. And that's a cultural thing that will take time to overcome. And I think it's, if we all can think about the fact that half the population of the world is women and that we have an equal place, we will do much better. And I want to come back to what I said about each of us being unique. Some women actually like not being, out there shoulder to shoulder with men. They actually like the fact that they are happy to raise kids and have that place in the society that way. That's perfectly fine. But for those who feel they want to do something else, we should be looking at each of us and say, you are different from the other person in terms of what you want to do. But men and women are equal. You can do everything that a boy can do. And that is the only way this particular question can be answered, that we are all unique. And this goes for men too. Each of them is unique. And somebody wants to be a writer, and somebody wants to be an engineer, somebody wants to be a space scientist. And it's perfectly fine, both men and women. And we have to start thinking about humans as unique individual beings that have unique desires and aspirations, and we should be very supportive.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, Dr. Shantha. And I would just like to mention that although like raising a child is often looked down upon in our society, but that is probably like a harder job. So raising kids appropriately. So in connection to that, Lipika De has asked, and just to give you a context, so Lipika De is a principal research scientist in TCS called Research Innovation Lab, and she is one of the very prominent data scientists and the woman in that role whom we often look up to. So she has asked that thanks for a great presentation. My experience says that any special privileges granted to women, whether in form of childcare privilege or special working hours, etc., it leads to a lot of enhanced ire against women. The women are thereafter targeted more. So, what are your thoughts on this? And I think it's very valid. But she has
Can you repeat that question? I don't think I really got the gist of it.
okay. Okay. So what she has asked is that what we are like demanding or asking, like in the childcare support or the special working hours for women, that is often like interpreted as like women are being given some undue advantages, and they are often targeted more for that by the peers, the male peers and the colleagues. So what are your thoughts on this?
So, as I said, when just because you want these benefits doesn't mean you're being treated as special. If you think about it, for example, in the US, men prize having membership in golf clubs, or they go out to drink, or they have happy hours. Many women don't participate in them. Many women don't enjoy them. So is that discrimination against women? I think so, right? I think we need to really look at what women think will work for them and give it to them. And when we talk about, they're demanding special things, we can also look at, how men have enjoyed all these privileges all through their lives. Their mothers take care of them. Even today, you talk to an Indian mother, she's very proud that her son has never set foot in a kitchen. And they have been taken care of by the women in their lives all through their life, for example. And so is that a special treatment? No, it works for that family and perfectly fine. So similarly, if women say, in order for me to be my best, in order for me to produce research the best, I need help in terms of having daycare or having my children taken care of. These are not special requests. These are requests that really make someone very productive, which in turn actually benefits that particular organization or that particular society. So no, you have to look at it as what comes out of all of that. It's not special treatment. It's not special favor. It's what works for that particular individual, that unique individual. So for example, there may be two women working at the same job, and for one of them, she doesn't have a family, for example. She couldn't care less about having, a child care or anything else. But the woman who has a child and who has to take care of the family definitely needs that. And it's okay. Each of us need different things.
So thank you. So we have couple more questions. So I will just quickly ask one from Chitra. So she has asked, is May George's circular is around in Chennai, and if yes, so where is it?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that those structures exist anymore. Just as all other things have been taken over by new buildings and so on, I believe these don't exist either. I had tried to find out, but I was not very successful in seeing exactly what happened or the history of how the Spardieri buildings, how they were transformed into something else. But I don't believe they exist.
Okay, so thank you. So before I take, I guess, the last question, so Preetha has asked that if there is any IEEE research funding for women empowerment, especially the women who had to drop their careers due to some family situations or so. So just to let you know, Preetha, so there are many IEEE opportunities from WIE. So you need to get in touch with your local IEEE section and all the other communities that Dr. Shantha showed, these ACMW Grace of Earth celebration in India, all of them have programs for aiding women who are ready to come back and looking for suitable opportunities. So you can just browse their uh, pages and you can get in touch with the local representative. So I guess that will help you. And so last question, so actually we have one more, but we will take quickly this one. This from Dr. Suthanira Vanita. She
Yeah.
has said that, thank you ma'am for your presentation. Women leaders in higher level is minimum when compared to men. They are
Yeah.
facing lot of difficulties. How to
Mhm.
overcome this?
How do you overcome? You already overcome a lot of things to become leaders at that level. And I think you need to reach out to others, just like you in the industry or in the research, space. You have to, do some networking, go to conferences. Now it's all virtual and it's even easier to do. And we have to support each other. And that was my point about, looking out for each other and supporting. And there are a lot of groups that have come up very recently. And I think you should find one and join and make your voice heard and hear others and give each other support. But I would say that in the past 3-4 years, there's been a lot of focus on growing women leaders, making them part of boards to make decisions where the decisions are heard from both men and women. And these are all good things. It's moving, but it's not moving fast enough, unfortunately. So I would say that if you are the only woman leader in your company, reach out to other companies and see who is in leadership positions there, and try to, grow a network that way.
Thank you. So we will take one last question from Prashanthi, because the question is very relevant, especially in context of India. That she has asked, thanks for the wonderful presentation. In a lot of dual career couples, I have observed that the women's career comes second, and he is expected to take a hit for the family. For instance, women are expected to relocate according to her husband's job. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this? Also, do you think it is realistic for both husband and wife to have a demanding, high-profile career and sustain a family?
Yeah, yeah. So to answer this question, it is really a very contextual answer. What works for one couple may not work for another. And if you want to look around and see, are there a couple who are both in demanding jobs? There are many, actually. And it has worked for them. They made it work. So in this regard, I would say one can look at what Indra Nui, the previous CEO of PepsiCo used to say. Create a support system which is beyond the husband and wife. And then you can make your high-powered, high-demanding careers work for you. And it comes down to actually the relationship between the husband and wife, where, as I mentioned before, if the spouse is very supportive, things can go swimmingly. And if it comes to the point that, the husband always says, my career is more important than yours, you've got to examine, are you happy with that? And you may be happy with that, and many women are. They look at their husbands and they are really full of admiration, and they say, that's fine, I will take a back seat. In fact, if you look at Roots and Wings, the many engineers who are portrayed there, some of them did exactly that. And they said, it's okay, I will take a back seat to what my husband wants to do. And they make it work in other ways. And that's okay. That's what that particular woman chose. But if you are a woman who cannot live with that, you've got to seriously think about, okay, what can I do about this? Right? But often there are women who are perfectly fine with what's going on, and that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. So thank you, Shantha. So I would just like to comment that we cannot deny that we have structural inequality in our society, and
Yeah.
which actually creates this kind of difficult choices for women. But as you pointed out, so we need to somewhere we need to keep ourselves first, our happiness first, and maybe many women have internalized this choice and they have
Right.
taken a back seat. But
Yeah.
if we are not happy with taking a back seat and we really want to take ahead of our careers, then sometimes we will have to stand at odds with our societal structures, but we should not think any less of us for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Never think of yourself as less than anybody else,
Yes.
man or woman, always think about what you want to do. And that's what I said. It really comes down to each of us. And as I said, I always come back to this. Each of us is unique and each of us feel differently. And what works for your friend may not work for you, right? What works for many people you read about in magazines and blogs, it may not work for you, and you have to find your own way. You have to charter your own path, and that would be the message that I want to leave you with. And self-empowerment, think about that. It's like I said, it's the risk-taking nature that will help you.
Shanta, if I may make a very quick point,
Yeah.
if you'll allow me. Our own Hindu scriptures presents Parvati, Shiva's wife, in so many different ways. And people would always wonder, a long time ago, I saw a documentary program on that. And why is in one avatar she is so submissive, and another one she is standing on a man's head and with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
knife. And what I think of, we have a wonderful religion which actually depicts you have to be what you need to be.
Yeah.
Women who went through some very difficult marriage, you cannot be the soft, gentle creature your mother wanted to be, unfortunately. You have
Yeah.
to take a stand and say, look, this is not working for me, and I have to move on, you move on, we'll both have a wonderful life.
Yep.
And some of us, including myself, did just the very thing. And I think the inspiration of all places actually came from our scriptures.
Okay,
So I
so
just wanted to make that point that we don't even have to look for our our guidance comes all the way from the top.
Yeah, sure, sure. And I, like I said, you know, we all don't need to follow somebody else. We have to follow our heart. We have to follow our mind, what we think is good. You don't have to look elsewhere. So thank you for saying that. Yeah.
yeah. So thank you, Dr. Shantha. Our attendees have asked that if they want to reach you, so how they can reach you, like.
I am on LinkedIn and I'm very good about, you know, connecting. So please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. You want me to type that, my LinkedIn profile? You can find me. If you just type Shantha Mohan, Carnegie Mellon, you should get my profile.
For all of the attendees, so Shushrava, who heads the WISR, the STEM research groups for women in India, so he has also posted the group's LinkedIn link on the chat box. So those who are interested, please click on the link and join. So thank you, Dr. Shantha, once again on behalf of WIE and CSSBC. It was indeed a very informative and nice presentation. And also, I thank all the attendees for listening patiently uh, for more than an hour to us.
Thank you, Manjira and Devashree and all of you for having me on your forum. And it's been wonderful talking to you all. It did energize me for the day, and I will now go
That's
do my,
great.
you know,
Yeah.
daily stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Bye-bye.
bye. So, have a nice day and bye, everyone. So, I am ending this call.